And here we are once again, and there we go. Hello, once again, everybody. I'm Eric J. Chambers, and welcome to the Cut Chronicles in this special edition, once again entitled We Need to Talk Relationships. Of course, we did one of these episodes a couple of weeks ago, and it was so good, we decided to come back and make this a regular. And joining us on the program right now are our two co-hosts, so to speak, or main panelists. They are Dr. Gloria Chance. Dr. Chance, how are you today?
I'm great, Eric. Nice to see you again. Thanks for having us again.
Wonderful. And also joining us right now is Dr. Gerald T. Hightower. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. Hey, Dr. Chambers, wonderful to be with you again.
Ready for action?
Yes, sir.
Yes, let's go.
Okay, first of all, just give me your assessment or the kind of responses that you guys got from the first episode, which was out of control, but it was a lot of fun. Beginning with you, Dr. Chance.
Oh gosh, let's see. It was everything. I think that people are hungry right now to understand how they can be loved, see love, and get love. And so I got so many responses about just the topic and the engagement of the panel, and the information that we were sharing. That hopefully, what I heard is that it really helps people think through how they're loving today and how they want to be loved.
Wonderful. Okay, how about you, Dr. Hightower?
The same response, Dr. Chambers. It was really, people were just blessed, really. And if I may say, entertained by not only the information that we shared, but of course the presentation. As I always like to say, presentation is everything. But Dr. Chambers, of course, you're just an outstanding host, and it was wonderful to connect with this incredible woman, Dr. Gloria Chance.
Awesome.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it was a lot of fun. Okay, beginning today, what I want to talk about is what is it that make a woman feel loved? That's what I would like to know. And those of you who are watching right now, if you'd like to drop your comments in the comment section and you have questions, we'll be able to put some of those questions up. If you have a question for Dr. Chance or Dr. Hightower, we'll use those questions throughout the program. We're only going to be here for an hour tonight. So get them in as soon as you can, and we will go with the flow on that. Dr. Hightower,
Yes, sir.
you have interviewed a whole lot of people as a part of your practice as a relationship expert. What is the overall consensus of what is it that women want that makes them feel loved? Because a lot of times, unfortunately, men really don't know.
Indeed. Well, it's really simple. For us as men, of course, we're wired to think basically how we want things. But if you really get into the mind and the heart of a woman wants to be heard and she wants to be understood. And then she wants to know that not only are you hearing her and understand her, but that you value what she brings to the table. You value her voice. You value her opinion. And then, of course, a woman who is purpose driven, she wants to know how her life, her purpose fits within the side of what God has given you to do. No woman wants to feel like she's here just to be a trophy wife or just to be, an accompaniment to whatever it is a man is doing. A woman wants to know that she plays a significant role in your life and that you value her.
How about you, Dr. Chance? What are your assessments on that? With you being a woman, what is it that you want, and the overall consensus of the women? What is it that they want, and do they know what they want?
Well, let me just break down the science for one moment. We all carry masculine and feminine energy inside of us. And I think in today's society, because women are very successful, a lot of them make tons of money, they run households. We no longer have this, well, I stay at home and raise the kids. Although that happens, about 50 to 60% of women are out in the workforce today. And so the challenge becomes in terms of what we want and how to ask for it is that I think it's confusing when you're outside the home and you're being a boss and you're doing all of this and you're, communicating what you want and people are jumping and doing what you want them to do. And then you get home and you're with your man, and sometimes it's difficult to turn off that masculine energy. So I think that, first of all, in order for women to get what they want, first of all, they have to know what they want. And I think that we can get confused because of that masculine energy. So I would say in our feminine energy, though, what women want and what I want, pretty simple. I think women want to be protected. They want to be heard. And they also want to be cared for sort of at one of the deepest levels of their souls, especially Black women. Because, we've gone through the whole kind of impact of slavery, not having families that are whole, relationships that don't work. And so we want to hope and trust that we can have that, but it becomes very difficult because of the dynamics between the man and the woman, and also our inner masculine and feminine energy.
Where does the breakdown come from? Because I've talked to a lot of women, and I've even heard them say, I really don't know what I want. Because a lot of times we'll hear people say, I want this, 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 and this. And once they get it, it's like, well, I thought that's what I wanted. And then also, let's face it, there are some people who are just never going to be pleased.
Indeed.
Go ahead, Dr. Chief.
Yeah, I find this to be true. And it's amazing because in my experience as a relationships consultant, I find that a lot of women will be able to give you clearly all of the things that they do not want in a relationship. One thing a woman does not want is anything that remotely resembles old Elgin that she got out of the relationship with she went through the divorce. As long as he ain't nothing like Elgin, because he was no good.
Not Elgin.
He didn't want to work. He was lazy. He was trifling, and all those things. As long as he's not like Elgin, you know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, wonderful. So we got that. No Elgin. So what do you want? Dr. G, I'm not quite sure. I'm praying about that. So that I find that amazing. And, certainly, Dr. Gloria, this is not for a woman like you who is very certain about what you want and need. But those are the women like you, Dr. Gloria, who have put in the work to assess what I've been through and now looking ahead to where I'm going.
See, and you already know, Dr. G, put in the work. But that's my mantra, praying, meditating, all those things are important, but you still got to do your work. So Elgin won't show up again, because this is the deal. Elgin's never going away until you do your work. I mean, seriously, most women can relate to, and even men. You're like, nope, no Elgin or Elgina, whoever it is. But all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, he didn't look like him. He didn't act like him. But in the end, he had the same attributes. He had the same issues. And you had the same issues with him. And why is that? Because the issue is really with you. Until you resolve your issues, you're going to keep repeating the same Elgin issue conversation, because it's not them, it's you.
So we have a lot of unresolved issues that need to get rectified before you can really become successful, even more successful in those relationships then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
And on the flip side, okay, what is it that makes a man feel loved? Dr. Chance, why don't we start with you, since you've had some experience with this as well?
With what? With men, you mean? Yes, I have.
Well, just as a psychologist, and just even chatting with them, whether it be as patients or just friends, because guys we don't seem to be quite as complicated when it comes to.
I don't know. That's not. In a way, there's simplicity, but in a lot of ways, you guys, to me, are way more complicated than us. And part of it is because it's difficult for you to express your feelings. And so the men that I work with, they're sad a lot of times. They have self-esteem issues. A lot of times they're beaten down at work. They want to have some place to come, some place to feel like they have a safe haven. And that's what they want from us. They want us to be their safe haven. How can I come home and have peace? Where can I run to when I need love? And so that, I think, is, for what I understand with men, is one of the core pieces. And as women, we can offer that. But again, remember, in that masculine energy and that nagging energy, though, it creates a situation where men pull away from us and we can't get to their heart. So I would say that for what I understand is that men want you to know their heart, but they're not gonna make it easy for you to get it and see it and understand it, because they have fear too.
Dr. Hightower, your assessment.
Absolutely. I completely agree with Dr. Gloria. One of the things that I talk about in my book, 7 Man Secrets Every Woman Should Know, is that we will give you the keys to the car. I mean, not to my Porsche though, but I'll give you the keys to the other cars. We'll give you the key to our home, our apartment. We'll give you our bank card. you know we will give you those things, but we will be very slow, very reticent to give you the keys to our heart. And that is, to Dr. Gloria's point, because Dr. Chambers, we are, as men, many of us are really dealing with a lot of emotional issues. Um, we're dealing with issues emotionally, and most often it's due to men who have not had a healthy balance in their lives emotionally. Because, of course, we, Dr. Eric, from you and I being of the X generation, and of course, even the preceding generation, the baby boomer generation, we were taught as men to suppress our feelings rather than express our feelings. And so a lot of men are dealing with emotional fragility or emotional absence, where they are just unavailable because they've never been taught how to address their issues or express themselves emotionally.
And a lot of that can be traced back to their own households because of the fact that, say, for instance, in our generation, especially fathers, they were hard workers, but at the same time, they weren't necessarily the nurturers to say, I love you, because of the fact that their fathers weren't that way. Some people are. It's not a complete uh, thing across the board, but I've seen that situation where a person may love their children or love their spouse, but unfortunately, they have not come to grips with being able to articulate that in words. And they believe that, some of them believe that my hard work and putting a roof over your head, that is what's showing the
Yeah,
love.
that's love, right?
But the reality of it
Okay.
is, it's that affirmation that we still need, and we
You
never
know,
run out
Eric,
of that need.
Eric, I'm curious. Since you gentlemen on the panel, what would you tell women? How do we get, how do we get in? When you're saying that, right? It's like, oh no, I'm working, I'm providing, that's what I do, and that means I love you. I mean, how do you suggest to women? What do you say to women about?
I myself am not one of those kinds of guys who will suppress the "I love you." I do it with my daughter all the time, and of course, when I was married, I had no problem doing it. But obviously, there's a lot of people who do, because of the fact that it is their upbringing and the fact that they have not been accustomed to hearing it. I never heard it. I never heard it from, obviously, my father, because I didn't grow up with him, and then even my mother. I've heard my mother say, "I love you," maybe once or twice, but her way of saying "I love you" is, "Be careful." And so I was able to interpret, okay, that's what she means. Why? Because my mother was, as a baby, was given away, and by my grandmother. So my mother lived with about 7 different relatives by the time she was 9. So she never got that nurturing from my grandmother, but I know that in her own way, she loves her children and her grandchildren. I was able to decipher that. Maybe everybody can't, but in the
Yeah,
meantime, there are those who, and then also I just learned to do it. My walk in
sure.
the church, that was very beneficial. Like my pastor in San Diego, Bishop McKinney, he's just a love machine, and hearing him say, I love you to people and acknowledge people and all of that has had a profound impact on my life. And so that's why sometimes, even if you didn't get it at home, you can get it from elsewhere, including people at church or even at work or wherever it is. But that's what I try to affiliate and associate myself with people who do that. In fact, I was about 29 years old the first time I ever heard a man say "I love you" to his son. I was in Bishop McKinney's office, and his son Gordon came in.
Hmm.
He gave Gordon some money, and Gordon was a student at the time. And as I was having a meeting with him because I was doing his video ministry, and as Gordon left, I heard Bishop McKinney say, "I love you." And it gives me chills now because that was the first time I ever recalled hearing a man say, "I love you" to his son.
Gotcha.
And as a result, like I said, with my daughter, I poured on and I poured on thick, to the point where she's like, "Okay, dad, enough. I got it," So, but I think it's a situation that you can learn. Dr. Hightower, why don't you expound on your assessment of that?
Is he
Is he
watching?
there? Okay, there you
Looks
go.
like Technology. Well, while he's getting ready, what I can say, there was research done about the relationship with the mom
Yeah, the
and
signal.
children. Okay, there you
Yeah, the
go. We
signal.
couldn't hear you, Dr. Chen.
Okay, Dr. Chance, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and part of it really does stem from childhood, especially around men and their moms. And again, ladies, in the Black community, as women, we have a lot of trauma from our fathers, from not having relationships with our fathers, from broken relationships, and we're single parents, so we raise sons. And so we have to take accountability for dealing with our trauma so that when we're raising children who are boys that are going to turn into men, that we teach them love and we teach them how to treat us. And I know that we do that as best that we can, but without going to therapy or having some type of counseling or dealing with your issues, we can see that the results are often not what we expect them to be.
Looking at the Facebook comments here, my friend Patricia Craig in San Diego commented that men are afraid to show their vulnerability. Why is that, Dr. Hightower?
Okay, so he's gonna have me doing all you gonna have me doing all the talking, Dr. G.
No, I'm just trying to get back in. Can you all hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
So I was
awesome.
asking the question, why is there that vulnerability when it comes to men sharing their emotions?
Well, from a spiritual standpoint, I mean, the scripture says to guard your heart with all diligence, for out of the heart flow the issues of life. And so the heart is the most tender part of us. And again, because we have not been taught how to, in a very healthy way, express ourselves while maintaining some level of protection of the heart. When a man gives his heart, he gives it fully. And so if he's been hurt, if he's been disappointed, if he's been let down, then that's something he's going to be ultra protective of, because to be vulnerable, or as I like to say, Dr. Chambers, to be emotionally naked, that's a place where a man feels weak. And so a lot of men are reticent to expose themselves in that way, not because he doesn't love the woman that he's with or love his wife, but again, it's because we haven't been taught by and large, and the church has not done a good job. And I can say this as an officer in the Lord's church. The church has not done a good job, particularly in the African-American community. By and large, we don't have counselors. We don't have great people like Dr. Gloria Chance on staff. If your church doesn't have access to someone like her, then that church is going to be deficient in dealing with broken men and helping these men be restored on the inside. We'll go out, as you said at the outset, Dr. Chambers, we'll go out, we'll work hard and do all of that. But to deal with our emotions is something totally different. And a lot of men have challenges with that.
Okay. Well, moving on here to another subject matter here. We touched on it briefly in the last conversation, and that was talking about affirmation. How important is it to hear your significant other, lavish you with praise? Because a lot of times we hear it outside of the home, we see it on social media, but a lot of people are thirsty and hungering for
Mm.
that adulation within the confines of their own home. How important is that we, say for instance, if your wife is dressed up and you're getting ready to go out, that it's nice to pay a compliment. If your husband is looking nice, because it's very easy to condemn, but when it comes to being able to show that kind of love and to compliment, for some it's a bit of a challenge. How do we overcome that, Dr. Gloria?
That's a fascinating question, because we really have to start paying attention to our minds. What we don't understand, to your point, is negativity is something, it's so easy to go there. And the reason is, and these figures are different wherever you go, but for the most part, 80% of our thoughts are negative. So you have to realize that you're thinking negatively most of the time. You look in the mirror and you go, oh, I look fat, or oh, my hair doesn't look right. If there's always a criticism. And 98% of those thoughts, we have the same every day. We think the same thing every day. And so it's important for us to recognize that because we have to make a conscious decision to change our thinking. So when we think about ourselves that way, imagine what we're going to say to our mates. It's going to be really easy to, without meaning it, to, say things in jest or do things that, are out of character because we're not paying attention to our thinking. So what we think usually comes out of our mouths unless we're able to see it, stop, shift it, and then communicate. And so for me, it is important. I'm a very positive person. I like positive people. So if for me, if you are being negative in your speech, in the way that you treat me, like, not responding to me or being late or whatever, those are signals to me that are negative. And so I, in kind, try not to do that to other people, especially my mate, because I want happiness in my life. And like attracts like. So if I'm happy, then I can attract happiness, and my behavior will be the same.
And also, when it comes to giving those compliments, what I've learned to do is be specific with it. Because yes, a lot of times it's cool to say, Dr. Gloria, you look nice, but it's even more nicer to me to say, I love your hair, I love your necklace, or you're being more specific because that says that I have paid attention and I'm not
Right.
just giving you a blanket compliment. And I heard that from my pastor's wife here in Orange County when she was speaking one day at church to all of us. And I had never really thought that of that much. But then what I do is I try to be more intentional and specific with the compliment, even if I'm commending someone on Facebook.
Well, for
What?
sure, or else it sounds like a group text where someone
Absolutely.
says, "Hey, beautiful," or you're like, "Okay, was that for me, or was that sent to a group, or what happened?"
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Hightower.
Compliments.
Yeah.
Compliments go a long way. I mean, listen, the power of death and life is in our tongue. So when we, as Dr. Gloria said, and Dr. Gloria, thank you so much for saying that, because most of us, all of us, at some point or another, we have this inward negative self-talk, toxic talk, if you will. And so to hear something positive spoken, that's speaking life into a person.
Mhm.
So yeah, just like you, Dr. Chambers, I try to take advantage of the opportunity to speak life, to compliment someone. Now, here's a challenge, and Dr. Gloria, you can speak to this because oftentimes I find it challenging paying compliments to a woman without her feeling like I'm trying to hit on her. And it's like, boo, I'm not trying to hit on you. I mean, I'm just trying to say that I love your purple dress. Wow, your hair looks great. Wow, you look wonderful. And then sister like, so what he up to? I mean, we're not trying to hit on you. We just want to compliment you and tell you look wonderful. Right. So that
Yeah,
can be challenging.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. That can be tough because, like, for me, those kind of things fly over my head. So half the time, people are actually trying to like say something nice so they can talk to me, and I don't get it because my personality is, oh, thank you. So do you look nice? So it gets tricky. I think that the safest thing to do is probably to either be clear, just to say, hey, I think there's a way you can do it in your tone, etc., that will let the person know that you just mean, hey, you look nice. Versus if you're going to say you look nice and you're standing there and you're having a conversation and you're prolonging the interaction, then I think people may think that you're trying to hit on them. But I think that it is important, and ladies, learn how to take compliments without expecting anything.
And
Just
even if they are trying to,
smile
because
and say thank you.
and then also there are times when that's certainly acceptable because maybe you are trying to get to know that person. Maybe it's more than
Well,
just a
right, that's what I'm
compliment
saying. Yeah, but
and
you
it's
have to be
part of the
intentional.
conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if
But
you linger, so I think saying it and lingering indicates that you're interested. But if the person, lady, doesn't linger, he was just being nice. Let him go. Say
yeah.
goodbye. Don't worry about it.
And then another example, my daughter and I, we were over at Disneyland this past week and downtown Disney. And what happened is we were looking at, well, we were dining. We were dining at a place called Ballast Point Restaurant there. And there's a certain young lady, she's a waitress. And man, I'm observing her bringing out multiple trays and not dropping anything. And I called her over. I said, excuse me. I said, you're doing an outstanding job. And man, it seemed like it just made her day. And I said, I've been observing you back and forth. And then I asked, have you had any spills today? As in dropped anything? She was like, not yet. But that seemed to have just made her day because, like I said, I was observing that. And I've done that before where I've called a person and I asked them, can you get the manager for me? And at the same restaurant. And then the manager came and the guy thought he was in trouble. And I said, my man here is doing an outstanding job. And I just wanted you to know that. And so we can even pay compliments in that regard. So it's not even just in the appearance, but when we see other people who are doing a diligent job at their job, and they may not have gotten a compliment all day and all day, especially in restaurants and service stuff, because a lot of times all you do is get complaints.
For sure,
True.
Eric. And also the key thing to understand about affirmations is what it does with the brain. So when someone is positive with you or you feel good about yourself, it actually releases hormones from your brain, endorphins that actually go through your body. And it's almost like a picker upper. It allows you to be more positive and happy. And that's why it's important to be in positive environments around positive people. And in your relationships, really work hard to make them as positive as they can be because it's healthy for you. Those endorphins and hormones help to reduce stress and it keeps you healthy.
Awesome. Once again, everybody, I'm Eric J. Chambers. This is the Cut Chronicles. We're coming to you here I'm in Orange County. Dr. Gloria is in Los Angeles, and Dr. Hightower is coming to us from Atlanta. And we're talking relationships, and we're kind of going all over the place here this evening. But nevertheless, with some things that matters to people, and sometimes you may not hear them in various different relationship portals. One of the things that I want to know about is when it comes to traits and looking for a mate, what are the traits that we should expect or the traits that we should look for in a significant other, Dr. Hightower?
Well, the principle that I always teach, Dr. Chambers, is what I call COP, compatibility of purpose. And purpose is so important because we all have been attracted to someone we shared great chemistry with, but the relationship didn't work out. In fact, sometimes it ended up being downright destructive, or at the very least, a deterrent to our destiny, completely off the path of where we need to be going. But, it felt so good. Oh, my God, we share such great chemistry. Oh, my God, he just does this for me. Or, oh, my God, she does that for me. And all of those wonderful things. That's cool in that exchange of energy. And usually it ties into the physical realm. Let's be honest. But now once we move beyond that and, you kind of get past the euphoric feelings of being in love, now it's time to put some real stuff together and lay down some foundational stuff. What do we have? Do we have enough together to build a life upon? Do we have enough foundational pillars, if you will, to build something on? Or as Dr. Gloria always says, do we have the tools to really move forward and have a really fruitful life together? Or do we merely just share a really strong attraction for each other and maybe we should just be cool as friends? So compatibility of purpose is everything, because when our purposes are aligned, that's really the glue that helps us stay together. That's the glue that helps us fight through challenges, fight through trials, loss of loved ones, and all of those things, those inevitable, painful things that we go through in life. When you share compatibility of purpose, that's the glue that keeps us together.
And as you mentioned in the last episode, our first one, you talked about purpose, dating with a purpose as opposed to preference. So I guess this kind of ties into that as well.
Absolutely, sir. Purpose over preference. Absolutely. Because we as men, we're visual creatures. So If you go with your preference, hey, listen, God raised up 3 prophets back in 1990, and nobody really was listening to these prophets. They were dancing to them, but they weren't listening to them. But the 3 prophets named Prophet Bill, Prophet Biv, and Prophet DeVoe told us there was cross, a big butt and a smile. Those 3 prophets was declaring that, but we didn't listen, and brothers was falling by the wayside because they kept trusting the big butt and the smile. So when you have your preferences, that's cool and it feels good and it looks good, but it may lead you completely off the pathway of purpose. And ultimately you're going to be unfulfilled and you're going to be miserable, married and miserable. Oh my God, there's no worse feeling, Dr. Chambers.
Absolutely.
So ultimately,
be married and lonely, married and miserable. Yes.
Yeah. And so guess what? God will bless us. Here's what the scripture says. Psalms 37 verse 4, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your
Of
heart.
your heart.
So you
Yes.
can have some wonderful attributes about this woman, ladies, about this man that fit your preferences. But what you must not do is allow your preferences to overrule purpose.
Dr.
Yeah.
Gloria?
I'm really digging this COP. Is that what it's called? COP.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
Compatibility of
Compatibility of
purpose.
purpose. And I actually have never heard of that before, but it makes so much sense because think about it. We have got to all do our individual work, is what you guys know I talk about. But a lot of the work that I do with individuals is about their purpose. It's about you got to be ready so that you got to get ready so you can be ready, right? And in order to get ready, you got to understand who you are. What are your traumas? How do you resolve them? What are your family issues, dynamics? And at that point, if you're on purpose, it's easier to attract someone who's on purpose. And I think about the relationships and marriages that I've had, and we weren't compatible on COP. Yeah, I can't get it. Compatibility of purpose. We weren't on that. And even hearing that, it makes so much sense. It's like, duh. So I would encourage people to, again, women and men, do your work and understand who you are, what you want, so that then and what's your purpose? Because then I think it makes it easier to find your mate because you can go, nope, nope, nope. And not in a negative way, but just because you see that you're not on purpose. Yeah, you look good, you sound good, but what are we going to do together? How are we going to make this together? So I really love it.
And for a person, say, for instance, who is in a relationship, whether it be married or a dating relationship, and they're lonely, especially marriage, because man, that is, as Dr. Hightower mentioned, that is, you're on your own island there because of the fact that you're married, and yet it feels like you're even lonelier because one person, I guess, one or both are not paying attention to each other. What is Dr. Hightower? What is one of the best ways to overcome that? I myself, I believe that, especially, whenever I'm in that position again, being married again, one of the things that I want to implement is at least once a month, we take a retreat. It could be local, not even getting on the plane. Just go to a different hotel from San Diego to Orange County to Santa Barbara, LA, anywhere in this vicinity, just as a refresher. As much as I love my dwelling place, sometimes it's really nice to go into a hotel with a big old nice king size bed that's nicely made, and you got all these other things that comes with it, and they got the pool and the lounge and all of that stuff. And even though you didn't have to hop a plane, you're still on a retreat or some kind of a mini vacation. What
Yeah.
is it that people can do? Because that's one of the things, like I said, I think that couples should implement. And but again, to overcome that loneliness of being in the relationship, because man, I've been down that old dusty road and it ain't fun.
It is not fun at all. Well, see, Dr. Chambers, you are in my great state of California. So there's a
It's
plethora of things to do. I mean,
absolutely.
people don't know this, but here's a little fun fact about Californians. Many people who are native Californians have never even left the state because there are so many wonderful things to do. To your point, you can leave Orange County from where you are, Dr. Chambers, and just jump in the car and just go up the coast. Like you'll hit like
Absolutely.
several cities. And if you just wanted to do like a 3-day excursion, especially like if you have a holiday weekend where, it's Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend, you got that holiday on a Monday, so you can do 3 days. Boom, you can get out on a Friday. I highly suggest leaving early Friday,
Yeah,
not
Friday,
in rush
right.
hour traffic. You'll be stuck like a duck. But yeah,
Because I
boom,
want to
hit
be already
PCH.
checked in at 3 o'clock at the hotel.
Exactly.
So
You want
get
to
an
get
early
out like
start.
11 a.m., no later than 12. And then, boom, just hit PCH, Interstate 1. For those of you who are not familiar with California, that's Interstate 10, which takes us all the way from Florida all the way to LA. But boom, Interstate 10, the Santa Monica Freeway turns into Interstate 1 and goes straight up the coast. And you can just hit so many different cities with little bed and breakfasts, wonderful little taverns. There's all kind of stuff. Jazz, poetry, spoken word. There's a lot of things to do going all the way up the coast of California. And again, to your point, Dr. Chambers, it doesn't take a lot of money. And if you don't want to do something as elaborate as that, Boom. There are wonderful hotels that are reasonable right near the beach, right in LA County.
Absolutely.
Portofino Hotel and Redondo Beach. It's only $149 a night. How do I know? Because I
Oh, and
often retreat there. Portofino Hotel. There's Malibu Hotel, a little bit pricier, which is about $300 a night. But
but
these are
I've been
hotels
seeing
that are
places as
literally
low
right
as
on the beach.
I've been seeing places, especially in this current time, as low as like $69 and $79. I've seen
Mm.
hotels that normally go for 350 a night, or like right now 119. So
Dr. Eric, I think that's all great, and Dr. G. But sometimes you can, kind of keep it simple too. I mean, in the work that I do around the imagination, if you use your imagination, that's going to be way more fun than the
absolutely.
traditional. So even what about, I don't know, pitching a tent out on the beach, and making sure you bring the candles and the picnic and the food. What about recreating something in your house or your backyard? What about understanding more about like what touches, not sex, but what are things that you haven't explored yet, in ways that you can engage the mind? Because the mind's a really powerful thing, and the mind can make you feel that you're on another planet if you get it right. And so I do encourage people to be creative, bring out that child in you, play, so that you can have fun with each other, so that you can really bond. Because sometimes going to a hotel, it's okay, and you feel like you're getting away, to your point. But there's a process in it. There's a whole lot of transactional things that happen.
Yeah.
And
Well, you
so
have to
I
make
think
the right person.
right.
You have to have the right person, Dr. Gloria, because not everybody appreciates the beauty and the simplicity of that. So you have to make sure you have the right person who enjoys, let's take a long walk up your
Well, I would argue that that's not the wrong person. That's a person that's not evolved. Because the most simple things in life are the things that lift our spirits, that give us peace, and reduces stress. So I would just argue that I think that because we don't try it and we don't do it enough, that we don't understand the power of it.
Okay, well, what are some other ways in which people can escape loneliness in a relationship, especially a marriage?
Mm. Well, I think, Dr. Eric, we can do, to Dr. Gloria's point, really simple things like just have a couple of friends over and like, one of my favorite games, party games, is Taboo. Guys against the girls, or a couple against couple, simple things like that. Just have some snacks and, have that kind of interaction, especially during the COVID crisis, where most of us have been on quarantine mode. I know personally, I've been pretty much on quarantine mode since March of 2020, with the exception of just a couple of excursions here and there. So just interaction like that. If married couples, oftentimes they get into a work mode of just work, church, and home, work, church, and home, work, church, take the kids to school, take the kids to a recital, and back home. So that kind of mode, you got to break up the monotony. And like, let's get with a couple of friends. Let's get with some family members, people that we really enjoy. Let's invite them over. Let's go over there and let's just do some really simple things like a fun board game. We can do something in the backyard or go to a park, play volleyball. I mean, there's a host of things that we can do. But one thing you got to do is be intentional with breaking up the monotony. Like, let's get out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I one of the best dates that I ever had in my life was with someone who wrote a fairy tale for me. So, and I was the main theme in the fairy tale. I mean, imagine having a book written or a story written about you. I was the main person in the story. And then when he wrote it, sent it to me, and our first date out physically was at a bookstore in the children's section, where he read the story to the fairy tale to me. Now, how creative is that? And how wonderful is that? And I felt like $1,000,000. And he hadn't done anything but write the story and take me to a children's section to read it to me. So I think that, again, that's where the imagination and creativity is. And that, that effort and just the difference in it made a real, it was important.
Dr. Nikki Giovanni once said, "We love because it is the only true adventure."
Right.
And in order to get through that adventure, we have to be creative, right? We
Right.
have to
Exactly.
come up with some ways
I
that's
love
going to
that.
take us out of our specific element
Hmm.
and just be creative with it, because I see couples all the time who seem to be having the times of their lives, and then you got other couples who may sit at home complaining. Um,
Exactly. And it's the adventure. It's the adventure part. And it is
right,
most people who enter relationships, like they know what they want and how they want it. But the adventure is, oh, this person likes it like this. Let me try it the way this person likes it. And that allows you to open up instead of each person wanting the routine to be the way that they like it. I just think
right.
it's so beautiful. And between birth and death is all we have. And so the
Hmm.
question you have to ask yourself is, what is it? How do I want that space to be
That
on
dash,
this journey?
yeah.
Yeah,
What are we doing during that dash?
exactly. And isn't it Drake that says, this is one of my favorite quotes where I don't know what song it is, but he talks about not everybody dies, but not everybody lives. And
Oh,
so
that's
I just encourage people to live. Like we have to live. We have to get out of our own way and live our best lives by having an adventure often.
okay. We just have a few more minutes to go here on tonight's show. But another thing that is dear to me, that and we chatted about this in a pre-production conversation last night. It is the magic of touch. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't realize how healing the power that there's healing power in touch. And as we hear about the deaths of so many people during COVID, a lot of them may still be here if they had someone just to rub their hand or their forehead while they were going through. At the same time, there are people who are in relationships who don't know the last time they've embraced. They don't know the last time they've held hands. Dr. Gloria, why is it important for people to even just exercise touch, something as simple as that? And we got all the senses of taste and touch and smell and hearing and all of that, but people don't realize that one of the most powerful senses that we have is the ability to touch.
Yes, that's become the number one sense that we have over sight. So initially, we're thinking sight, as we talked about, seeing someone physically is a thing that gets us attracted, but actually, touch is even more important because when we're born, the way that we survive as children is that we touch, we lay on our mom's breast or chest, and we feel and hear the heartbeat. And so that sustains us and helps us develop and grow positively. During COVID, however, of course, many of us who couldn't live alone, who lived alone, we were challenged with touch. And so I know for me personally, I came up with all of these ways to touch because touch is done through your skin, right? And your skin is the largest organ that you have in your body. And
Absolutely.
so things like, when you take a shower, the brush, if you brush yourself, that's a form of touch. If you do stomach crunches, if you do scalp massages, all of those things, they're not only touch, but what they're doing, Dr. Eric, is they are also back to those endorphins. They are shaking up the positive hormones in your body, which will help reduce stress and anxiety, which is what most people had during the pandemic. And again, on a different show, stress and anxiety leads to diabetes and heart disease and hypertension and all of those things. And so touch becomes really important to combating them. And there are ways you can have touch without having a mate, although that's probably the better way. But there are ways to work through it on your own until you can have
Yeah. So, again, being able to hold hands, being able to hold one another. And I was looking at video over the weekend on the news where there were these like touch reunions,
a
where it's
mate.
like grandparents being able to touch their grandkids or their
Uh-huh.
sons and daughters for the first time in a year. And I think because of COVID, it has, in a tremendous way, it has shined a lot of light to remind people just how simple something
Mhm.
so that we probably overlooked, because we are always in the position to hug and to embrace.
Right.
And when you couldn't do it, man, I think people felt the effects in a mighty way.
Yeah, and some of the other things that can help for those who are still, homebound and want to try other things. What really worked for me was a weighted blanket. And if because again, the weight touches your skin, it makes you feel that there's someone around and it reduces stress and anxiety. And if you don't want to purchase You can also take 10-pound rice bags and
Hmm.
put them on your chest, and that also makes you feel like someone is touching you. And so it's
Hmm.
very healing, it's soothing, it's comforting. But I'll say that when you're with a person, you have to be careful with touch, because touch actually gives a lot of vibrations to your brain and is stimulating. And so when you're touching, and it actually creates poor decision making. So you do want to, that's the power that you're talking about, Dr. Eric, of touch, that you really need to be aware, especially when you're with another person, of that power, because it can cause you to make bad decisions or decisions that you don't want to make.
And say, for instance, when a couple is on a date, I'm the guy who I love to hold hands when I have a date. I have no
Hmm.
problem with it. And
Hmm.
then again, there's some people don't. I guess it depends on what's going on in the relationship. As we saw, Donald Trump's wife slap his hand away on a couple of
That's a
dates.
whole nother situation. I'm sure. I mean, most people would probably do that. But yeah,
I
I
know.
think, but it's so sensitive and it's also intimate. And so, again, it's the biggest organ in our body. And so I think that we, with new research and understanding, I think after the pandemic, we should consider and think about the importance of touch. And again, in terms of the decision making when you're dating, how intimate it can be, and also how you can help yourself now while you're waiting to get out.
Okay, Dr. Gerald, you want to add to that? I think he's still having some technical issues here.
Yeah, looks
Um,
like it.
but again, that is, one of those things that I really believe that.
Yeah, Dr. Chambers, and my apologies. I don't know. This is the
Oh, okay, you there? Okay. Okay, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with him, but hopefully he'll be able to pop
yes.
up
Can you hear me
again.
okay?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Well, this is the world and age of the internet.
All
Oh,
right. Can
yep.
you hear me okay? You can hear me,
Yes,
Dr.
we
Chambers?
can. We can. So I guess he's having a
Yeah,
problem
I
on
guess he can't hear you.
that side. So once again, everybody, I'm Eric J. Chambers. This is the Cut Chronicles, and this is We Need to Talk Relationships. And right now, we're talking about the importance of touch, how important it is, not just for husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends, even children, huh, Doctor
Mhm.
Gloria? How important is it for us to even embrace our kids?
Oh, absolutely important. It's part of the developmental stages, and people who don't know how to touch or are uncomfortable with touch likely grew up in families where it wasn't allowed. And if you'll notice those people, they tend to be more reserved, not as engaging with people, because touch, from a developmental standpoint, allows you again to have positive hormones in your body. Touch feels good, touch gives you confidence, and it also reduces anxiety. So there are health benefits to touch. And again, absent an individual, it will be important for you to come up with ways that you can use touch now. Again, as I mentioned before, by using a brush, brushing your entire body, heavily massaging your scalp, doing crunches and things that allow your skin, even doing things like this is a form of touch, touching different textures, like taking a cup and touching a cup that has ridges. All of those things stimulate or simulate what you would normally get from a person, if
Hmm.
you have to wait.
Absolutely. Dr. Hightower, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, now you're back in effect.
All right. Awesome. Yeah,
Woo!
I think I shared with you, Dr. Chambers. I did a study a few years ago from a good friend of mine who sent me some great material from Cedar Sinai Hospital, which, for those of you that don't know, Cedar Sinai in Beverly Hills, California, one of the top hospitals in the nation. And the condition is called skin hunger, where people literally begin to die on the inside due to a lack of human contact. So when we isolate ourselves, and I do a whole teaching, a whole series as it relates to purpose about the difference between separation and isolation. Separation being a time where God calls you away for a time of prayer and introspection and consecration. Isolation is something that we do ourselves because I'm either tired of dealing with people, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I've got resentment in my heart, and I'm not dealing with nobody right now. And when we isolate of ourselves over a prolonged period of time, it can literally cause you to get into a state of depression, and then you begin to atrophy due to a lack of human contact. And so we often hear about stories where people have been found in their homes dead, and then the coroner's report is that they died of natural causes. Well, no, that's not the reality. The reality is that due to a prolonged period of isolation, they died due to a lack of human contact. And that condition
Wow.
is called skin hunger.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then animals can help with that, though. That's why a lot of elderly, it's important for them to at least have animals in the home so that they can get the love and the hugs and the licks. Doesn't have to, obviously we want it to be a human being, but absent that, it is important again to have alternatives, to support them.
Even with single people, I know a lot of single people who do have an animal for that companionship, because coming home to a place, I guess it's always nice to look forward to returning home to somebody or something, I guess, and especially something as like a dog or a cat that will have that unconditional love for you.
Mhm. Yeah. Dogs have unconditional love. Cats, you got to earn it.
I don't know nothing about a cat. Keep them away from me.
That's right. Okay, and then also here, let me see if there are any questions that you have. Now is the time to ask the questions, as we only have about 7 more minutes here on We Need to Talk for tonight, so we'll save some for the next time. And say, for instance, if there's someone right now who's entering into a new relationship or they're looking forward to it during these COVID days, and of course, things are on the verge of getting a whole lot better, because of the vaccinations, because the numbers are going down. Important is it for us to remain, vigilant when it comes to being careful not to rush out too soon, simply because of that very thing that I just stated,
Yeah,
Dr.
vigilance
Glory?
is
Okay.
always important.
Hmm.
We have to protect ourselves. Uh,
Okay.
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
we have to protect ourselves. Um, Georgia here, Dr. Chambers was one of the first. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, a little bit.
You
Okay, I
mentioned
guess I'm
about
on a
Georgia.
delay.
Okay, you mentioned Georgia. How about you, Dr. Chance? While he gets that together, tell us what you think of
Yeah, the
what.
state of Georgia was one of the first states to open.
Yeah, I think that look, as African American Black people, we have challenges, rightfully so, about the virus. I do think that given that we're dying at a higher rate than anyone else, that I propose that if you get information about the virus, talk about the virus, but think about getting not the virus, think about getting the vaccine, because the vaccine is a way where we can be safer.
Hmm.
And if you do your research to choose the one that makes you feel more comfortable, make sure you have a plan, because if there's side effects, they won't get as bad if you plan, okay, I'm getting my vaccine, I'm going to take the day off or plan to go to bed early. If your body is in good shape, healthy and relaxed, you can overcome any allergy reaction or anything. But I just encourage that, and look at it this way, the risk of not getting the vaccine over the risk of potentially getting COVID and
Right.
dying is huge. And for me, I lost 3 family members, 2 immediate ones to COVID. So I'm not playing. I'm getting the vaccine because I want to live. And so I would just encourage people to have an open mind, observe what other people have gone through, get information from people who have already taken the vaccine, and just be open. Because again, back to everything I've been talking about, if you open your mind, then there are possibilities that can happen that you might not imagine. And so I just encourage everyone to be safe and consider getting the vaccine for not only your health, but the health of your family and your community.
Yeah, because I know that people are tempted to uh, get back out there like it's the running of the bulls or it's Black Friday and you want to get out there, but still you have to be very careful because of the fact that there are those who have taken the vaccine. I've got my first shot, and I got another one coming up in the end of this month. And as you said, Dr. Gloria, it's certainly it safeguards you more than if you didn't take it. And of course, if you're meeting someone, you don't know if they've taken it or not,
Exactly. Yeah.
all of that
And I
stuff.
don't
And
even believe in, I don't take the flu vaccine because I have allergies. So I'm one of those where I
me
usually
too.
don't do vaccines. But, nowadays, especially if I want to see someone or whatever, I would feel more comfortable.
Same here, Dr. Hightower.
Well, it's too bad because Dr. G always has amazing information and it looks like
That
we're
he
not meant
does.
to hear it.
That he does. But
Yeah.
what I'll do is we'll start doing some of the dishes right now. For those of you who are interested in learning more about Dr. Gloria Chance, you could go to her website right there. It's the Musai Group. And Dr. Chance, just tell the people what it is that you do for the most part. I know most of your stuff is not so much individually as much as it is corporate, but at the same time, you still have something to offer to the people.
Oh, sure. Yeah. When I work with individuals and groups, what I try and do is help people understand the power of their imagination, as you heard me talk about it, that can change your life and create that purpose that Dr. G keeps talking about for you individually so that you can be ready, not just for a relationship, but, an improved life, improved work, improve whatever it is that you want. Because when you can leave your baggage, really leave, not leave your baggage at the door, but get rid of it, burn it, then you are able to live the life that you were brought here on earth to live. And so that's I expand the mind. I use creative thinking to expand the right side of the brain, and it's very powerful. And you should definitely check it out.
And you also do it in a creative manner.
Yes, I use expressive art. So I use poetry, art, actual visual art, music, dance. What it depends on what we're trying to accomplish, but especially in groups, drumming, and all those things that we used to use, our ancestors used. They're very powerful healing tools, and they're actually fun. You have fun while you're healing. So therapy and those kind of things don't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be frightening and scary. It can actually be fun, and you can expand your mind so that you become the best person that you can be.
Okay, Dr. Hightower, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
You've
Okay.
really been putting me to work. You
You're
owe
built,
me dinner or something around that. My goodness.
you're built for it, Dr. Gloria. You're built for it. Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Chambers, and my apologies for the Wi-Fi. I'm assuming that it's whack on my end. But my website is reallovenation.org. I am a relationship expert, yes, both for singles and married couples, as well as we offer services for those who are in what I call divorce recovery. So I have several people in my network that can help you if you are in the mode of going through a divorce or have gone through a divorce and still hurting. We can help you heal so that you can be prepared to love again if that's your desire. And then also, Dr. Chambers, I am a purpose and destiny mentor. I literally give people, as my dear friend Dr. Gloria says, tools. I give people tools to help you find the very thing that God put you here to do. That's called purpose. So that you're not just stuck in a dead end job, a dead end career, something you're doing that maybe your degree qualified you for, but you really can't stand doing. We want to get you to that place to where you do that thing that you would love to do, that you're passionate about, that thing that fuels your spirit so that you can be more effective and fruitful.
Awesome. Okay, family. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of We Need to Talk Relationships, episode number 2. And we hope that we've been able to shed some light in other aspects of the talk of relationships. And of course, for those of you who are not familiar, I have a radio show called The Jaspel. You can check it out, as you see at the bottom of the screen, every Sunday morning at 8 a.m.
Yes,
Pacific
sir.
Coast time. If you like jazz and gospel, you'll love The Jaspel. And then also you can go to my website here, The Cut Network, to see more information about what I do. The Cut stands for Chambers Urban Television, as I'm doing documentaries and other projects in addition to this and the radio program. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to let both of our panelists have some final thoughts, beginning with you, Dr. Hightower, since you've been dipping in and out.
I know, right?
Said Dr. Gloria got a lot more airtime tonight,
Yeah.
thanks to your
Oh,
Wi-Fi. But any last comments from you?
Yeah, my last thought is, family, don't be afraid to love. I have a great class coming up this coming Saturday. It's a 3-week intensive, and it's called Purpose to Love. And that's for all single people. If you are relationship ready and your heart is prepared and open for marriage, we'll give you once again tools to help you find what we call your purpose partner, that person you share COP, compatibility of purpose. This transcends your normal attraction. This is about the glue that's going to hold you together so you can actually build a long life with someone. So please open your heart to love again. I know it's difficult, but God will be with you, and we'll give you some tools to make sure that you have a good, promising future with someone who love you to life.
Okay, Dr. Chance.
I just want everyone to work on being happy. And what I mean by that is listening to your thoughts and shifting them. Because when you can do that, that one simple thing, then your body will be more healthy because there's a mind body connection. So if you can be positive, affirm yourself, and then also affirm others, you will realize that you feel lighter, you think more clearly. And these possibilities and purpose and things you have to get about, you find energy to do those things. And so just think positively to start and then do your work.
Absolutely. Again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's edition of the Cut Chronicles. We need to talk relationships. And stay tuned. And those of you who have not subscribed to my website, my YouTube channel especially, please do so. And then also hit on the notification bell so that the next time we do these, this happened to have been almost a pop-up one after we were having a conversation last night. And we were saying, let's
Yeah.
do it again on Monday night, and behold, here we are. And
Yeah. You probably should give people more notice. Yeah.
we'll do that. We'll give them more notice, but we're still working out some kinks and certain things. And so by the
Yeah.
time,
And Dr. G needs to like stay in the on the show.
Indeed.
absolutely. So, but nevertheless, we're looking forward to doing more of these in the near future. And we hope that you enjoyed tonight. For Dr. Gloria Chance and Dr. Gerald Hightower, I'm Dr. Eric J. Chambers, bidding you and yours a very pleasant evening.
All right, fam.